Hello there, boys and girls. Please take a seat and make yourself comfortable, because you've just found yourself in a classroom of a very eccentric academy. My name is Cademan David, or as Wendigos might call me, Mr. Cow. Now, I'll be your teacher of all things nerdy in science fiction. I primarily talk to you about things like Star Trek and Doctor Who, occasionally Star Wars, but today, pack up your sleeping bags and jump into your Impala, because today we are camping out in the supernatural episode, Wendigo. So, today I'm drinking water. I'm sort of trying to cut back on my soda drinking, honestly due to expenses more than anything else, but surely it's not bad for my health to be drinking water instead of soda. So, water. Yum, water. Love water. Okay, welcome everybody. So before I jump into talking about some things about the episode Wendigo, I just want to say I've been thinking about Supernatural, and my last video was really more of about just how I like the show, more than actually talking about the episode. But I was thinking about it, and it's interesting that right now the three shows that I'm making videos on is Supernatural, Star Trek, and Doctor Who, because those are really the sort of holy trinity, if you will, of like my creative inspirations. Of course, the Twilight Zone, which interestingly right now I have a podcast on with my friend. You can look it up. It's called Mapping the Twilight Zone, where you can find it on this channel. But yeah, the Twilight Zone is like sort of the fourth kind of also there, but also kind of, a completely different thing. Right? Like he's like the next door neighbor of the family of these three shows in my head. Like, I don't know, these shows are just like the ones that I think have inspired me the most. I like them. Of course, other things like Batman is a huge inspiration on me, and has been for a long time. I might have a video coming about Batman. I have an idea about Batman. I just gotta write out a video and figure out how to present it. Anyway, so with that being said, I really like this show. It's been a huge inspiration to me, and unlike Star Trek or Doctor Who, this one is kind of a different, right? It's kind of a different genre, or maybe it's not. Maybe I just think of it that way. Right? Because, like, it is obviously supernatural instead of science-y. But Doctor Who is barely science-y, if we're being honest. It's almost magic. Star Trek is definitely more science-y, so if you line them up, we kind of have a gradient of, like, Star Trek is one type of show, and then we have, like, the middle of the road, which is Doctor Who, and then Supernatural over on the side. So it's like, we have, I don't know, is this interesting? Anyway, with all that being said, what it comes down to is this show has been a huge inspiration to me, and I think it's sad that later on the show sucks and becomes a self-parody, which more and more shows have become a victim to. So, I'm gonna say it. If anyone is making a TV show, don't make it a parody. We have so many parodies. What we need is genuine storytelling, like we have in TNG, like we have in New Who, like we have right here in the early seasons of Supernatural. That's what audiences are hungry for. We're tired of completely meme-based humor all throughout our TV shows. Maybe I just speak for myself on that, but please, someone make a show and do it serious. I love serious TV shows that are ambitious, that tackle cool themes and monsters and whatever. Anyway, with that being said, I'm not gonna fall into the trap I did with my last Supernatural video. I'm actually gonna talk about this episode now. So the first thing is, jump scares don't usually get to me. There was a jump scare in this that did kind of spark a second of fear in my brain. And that's when Sam's at the grave of his dead girlfriend, who is played by Seth MacFarlane's ex-wife in The Orville. Fun fact. Anyway, so yeah, that was a nice jump scare. It kind of sparked a moment of fear for me, because it was just sort of, it was sort of unexpected for me.
Oh, God. I should have protected you. I should have told you the truth.
Also, I love the moment in this episode where Sam and Dean are like, oh yeah, we're like forest rangers or whatever they said. And the guy they're talking to is just like, bull.
Oh, no, sir. We're environmental study majors from UC Boulder. Just working on a paper.
Recycle, man. Bull.
Sam in this episode, I feel, is done really well because he's mourning. He's sort of trigger happy, you know. He wants to just go and find Dad, and he's scared, and he doesn't. I feel like he's kind of scared to get caught back up in the hunter life. He kind of doesn't want that. He's sort of anxious about, like, how do you do this hunting, and that sort of thing. And I feel like I understand what's going on in Sam's mind in this episode, and I think part of that is just owed to Jared Padalecki's excellent acting here, which, I know Jensen Ackles and Jared Padalecki both are, at least fairly experienced actors by the time they got Supernatural, but they do really good. And the show, I don't think, wouldn't have been as successful if they had any less good actors. It's the actors that carry the show, I think. And I talked about this in my last episode, but I look back at other shows that are of a similar vein, like Arrow, and I look back and a lot of the acting from Stephen Amell is a little weird, and just overall, a lot of the stories in early Arrow, and I can imagine all of Arrow, I don't know for sure, because I know the show got much worse as it went on, but a lot of the stories and character arcs just aren't as strong as I remember them. I don't have that feeling with Supernatural. Now, I'm sure later on I will. I firmly have the opinion that later episodes sort of decline in quality. But, yeah, with that all rolling back, it's just, I like Sam in this episode. I thought he was good. I felt sad for him. I felt scared in the same way that he felt scared. The sort of annoyance to like the responsibility that he's realizing he kind of has, I think. But sort of relatable in a uncomfortable but also kind of encouraging way. I don't know if I can explain it any better than that. I don't know if you'll understand what I'm saying, but that are the words that I'm trying to use to explain things, and maybe it makes sense, maybe it doesn't. I really liked the when the Wendigo grabbed Roy and pulled him up into the tree.
It's over here! Oh, it's in the tree!
I don't know, there was just something about like the look of that I really liked. Yeah, and like I think this is a good time to like just sort of talk about. I really like the look of these early episodes. Now, I remember back when I first watched this show, the year was 2020. We were all told to stay in our homes and not do stuff. So I watched Supernatural and The Twilight Zone. You know, those were the two shows I got into in the year of nothing's supposed to be going on. But I remember initially I kind of thought, oh, they're making the footage a little grainy, so it kind of looks like found footage. Now I realize the show came out a long time ago, and it's probably a little grainy because of the cameras that were used back then. But I like that look, you know, and I kind of wish they would have kept it. And you know, maybe that's just me being like, oh, I'm so young, but I'm so fascinated by the old things, you know, I like old things. So that's why I have a typewriter behind me. But yeah, and also I feel like, I don't know, this could also be the cameras. I don't know enough about this stuff. I wish I did and I could talk like I know what I'm talking about. But to me, it looks like they have like the darkness and the coloring of the footage turned up. And I don't know if that's the case, or it's just the cameras, or the way they light their shots, or anything, but there's just a lot of dark in the shots, and like sort of a strong contrast between the dark and light, and I think it looks really cool. So yeah, I don't know, again, that could all just be an effect of it being an older show. I'm not sure. If you know, leave a comment, and because I would like to know. But I don't, because I don't know a lot about technology. Just now I'm figuring out how to work a camera. So, like, really, like, I think I'm recording it because there's a red dot in that corner. Anyway, there is a very fun scene, I thought, of when Dean, the girl's like, oh, what are you gonna do, Dean? And he's like, oh, just you watch. And then, like, he goes, and he just starts shouting at the Wendigo.
Stay with Sam, he's gonna get you out of here.
What are you gonna do?
Showtime, you freaky bastard! Yeah, that's right! Bring it on, baby!
So, my last point, and this is gonna be a rant, because this makes me a little angry inside. The Wendigo, in this episode, he looks amazing. Like, he's this goblin creature. He looks very cool. Now, why does that make me angry? Why does it make me angry that there's a design of a monster that I liked? Because this was at the beginning of the show, when they had less special effects, when they presumably had less budget, the show hadn't taken off, this is the very second episode, and they do a really cool design for a Wendigo. Now, several seasons later, after the show is very popular, they introduce dragons And dragons are just people. The dragons in the world of Supernatural look like just people. Are they scaly people? No. Are they at any way resembling dragons? No. They're just people. I don't even remember if they make their dragons breathe fire. It sucks. Their dragons suck, and, you know, I could understand not wanting to, or not having the budget to do traditional dragons, but this Wendigo is proof that you could have done something. Why in the world did you decide to do dragons and just make them people? You know, it sucks. I hate it. Everyone hates it. I have not heard anyone that's like, oh yeah, I really like how Supernatural took dragons and made them lame people. You know, it's crazy, right? And it's like, if you don't have the budget to do a dragon, one, you can just not do it. And two, like, you could do something, you know? You could do something more than just a person. You could do a scaly person, you know? You could do a winged person, right? You could at the very least make a reason for dragons now looking like people instead of big old winged lizards. But I don't think they did that. Now, I can't say for sure. It's been a while since I watched the episodes, and when I watched them, I was fairly checked out of the show by that time. The episodes at that point just weren't very good. But yeah, so I think something I realized is what I like about Supernatural is concepts like this. I like Sam and Dean are two brothers, and they're fighting something from folklore or mythology or urban legend, you know, whatever. But something that, like, we kind of know exists and we kind of know what its deal is, right? And they can, you know, they can take creative liberties, not dragon creative liberties, where it's like, we're gonna call this thing something that you know and love, and we're gonna make it just a guy that, like, eats virgins or something. I don't remember what dragon's deals were. Nonetheless, like, you know, I like better when the show was trying to stay a little bit more true to the mythology and the folklore, whereas later on it seemed like everything was like their version, you know. It's their version of vampires, their version of dragons, you know. It's everything is like their version of a monster, which usually ends up just being like looking like a human person, right? It worked for angels because angels, you know, commonly do look like human person according to stories and folklore and all of that. But yeah, you know, I like a lot better when the show sort of stayed more true to the mythology, and I liked better when it had less established monsters, so it was more like you're fighting a new monster from you know, whatever mythology. It could be anything. I liked that. I wish that the show would have stayed more true to those lines than going down the route it did. Again, like, some of their monsters I do like, of course. But yeah, I kind of just wish that the show had been more open with its monsters, if that makes sense. I don't know. But with that being said, what do you think of this episode? I liked it a lot. Again, it's like one of those things where I'm like, this is kind of what I want from Supernatural, is just like little adventures, fighting stuff from urban legends, mythologies, folklore, stuff like that. You know, I like that, and I like the sort of story in the background. Like, you know, everything just comes together very nicely here in this first season. And, you know, the show is actually a very good show for a long time, but it definitely slowly does become less good of a show. So what do you think? Do you only like the newer seasons of Supernatural? Are you like me and you're tired of the meme-ish humor always being forced into every TV show? You know, I want to hear all that. But until next time, class dismissed. Live long and prosper. Bye.